We want to welcome Dharma Chaya to the podcast from the School of Life. What we're going to discuss today is the topic of why healing is so important and why the mental health industry is not focused on it. And that gives us more of a reason why we should. Dharma Chaya has found solace and sanctuary within spirituality realm. And he's become a leader and a mentor to like-minded individuals. Thank you for joining us, Dharma Chaya.
Grateful to be here, my friend. Grateful to be here.
The intricacies, in the mental wellness industry and how it's built to make you a customer for life instead of trying to heal. And we hear this term, consistently in our society is that, hey, you need to heal, right? And we also hear this phrase called the hurt people hurt people. The hurt people are continuing to hurt people and people don't know how to heal. That's become the crux of the issue that we're battling with whether it's masculinity, femininity, whether it's females, genders, political views, income disparity. It's because we haven't healed. See, when we heal, there's a huge transformation within our life that makes us immune to the bullshit and the idiocracies that happens in life. So why do you think healing is so important, and how did you do it? And what would you say to people that want to heal and answer this question for themselves?
It's a very good topic, and you bring it up to my mind is that what we want to do is it all comes within, because everyone's heard input equals output. The energy you put out of the world is what you'll get back tenfold. You reap what you sow. All these sayings. When you're able to go within and you're able to help the wounds, instead of covering them up, and clean them out, get them uninfected, and allow yourself that healing, it's so important, because that is going to be what people see around you. That's going to be what people feel around you. It's going to be what comes to you. If you
Absolutely.
Start thinking about red cars or red hats intentionally, you start to put something out there and you see a lot more red cars and red hats.
Right.
Because the energy you're putting out is what
you're focusing on it. You're attracting that.
Exactly. And then you start to see it more. And we can argue and have discourse about it. Is it because of the energy you're putting out? Is that what you're attracting? Or is it now that you're just thinking about it more that you're attracting more? Whatever the case may be, the energy is the same.
Right. And
that goes in within our temple. You put out that you're hurt. Hurt people because they're hurt. They're self-projecting. They're perpetuating that energy field onto somebody else because of what they're dealing with on the inside.
Yeah.
And a wise man once told me, man, it was you can allow yourself to remain ignorant to it, or you can really attack it for what it is and not cover it up, and you'll just flourish. You will completely flourish.
It's definitely what we focus on. If you focus on the pain, that's what we're going to attract more. Focus on recovery, that's what we're going to attract more. Having the shift in the mindset, to be okay. But in order to actually start getting to the attracting the recovery part, the healing journey, I think one must acknowledge and let go of the past. And that includes forgiveness, including for self and others. But how do people really heal themselves? Because Jesus Christ did it. Jesus Christ was helping people heal all the time. He had to heal in order to have love in his heart, right? And he been through a tough life himself since he was 12 years old to 33. Got any of the great leaders, Abraham Lincoln went through a ton of stuff in his life before he started attracting success, right? And he went through tremendous amount of pain. We look at Dr. Martin Luther King, he went through numerous challenges, non-stops. We look at Malcolm X. We look at a lot of the prominent leaders that have walked the planet of this earth have been through tremendous amount of pain. As human beings, we have created this narrative that pain is bad, but pain is where the growth lies. And that's where your blessings are beyond that bridge when you pass through that pain and suffering and across from it. Once you let everything else go and you get this clarity, hey, all of this had a greater purpose, a greater meaning, and this awakening really fuels your healing. But how does one awaken and really try to heal? Because I think that's what most people don't understand. And that's going back to the mental health industry, because they go back and focus so much on the problem, the past, right? They're not looking forward. It's not a forward thinking solution. There's no action to get you from one place to another place. What they're focused on is, what happened in your childhood, that determines all of this. And it's a rationalization. It gives you some understanding, but it doesn't alter your coping mechanism. It doesn't prevent you from not being codependent. It doesn't reverse the effects of the trauma and the pain that you were put through. Ideology of everything's supposed to be hunky-dory and happy with unicorns and rainbows, that just doesn't exist. That's not life per se, and that's what the world wants it to be, but dismissive of that ideology. What I'm saying is we need to be realistic as to understand that what life really is, and the lessons that it provides along the way, and how we could use it to fuel our growth instead of keep us stagnant in one place, or instead of us caging ourselves in this prison that we created in our minds about pain and fear and suffering, drugs, addiction, unhealthy attachments, toxic attachment, toxic relationships, you just name it. It fuels everything else, right? It's like, it's the path to self-growth or the path to self-destruction. Pick yours. And I don't think they're consciously choosing, I want more pain, but I think they're like, I don't want pain, but that's what they're attracting, is more pain. And so how do we how do we switch this mindset? Because it's so pertinent, man. Like, I just wish the mental health industry was there to actually help people heal
and solve.
Yeah. So give me your thoughts on the mental health industry and like the root of the problem there, because it's clearly part of the problem. It's definitely not, it served as a solution, but it's an illusion as a solution. It's a temporary band-aid. It's not lasting. It actually decreases your ability to heal naturally because of the chemicals that we're putting into our system, the complacency that we're confirmed with when we go into counseling and therapy. Most people talk about like, hey, this happened, poor me, and this victim mentality lets them stay in that pain, and it lets them sulk in it. It re-traumatizes them all over again, over and over again. It's another form of codependency. That's what it is. Therapy is another form of codependency in my book. Tell me a for-profit business corporation that ever cared about you. I don't see one, man. I do not see somebody caring about your healing. I don't see somebody invested in your growth, and I certainly don't see anybody with empathy in the business arena. In my experience as a CPA, as an MBA, as working with the corporate world, I have not seen an ounce, an iota of empathy for any another human being or compassion when it comes to policies and procedures. And that's what it is. And that's how it's going to be. And that's how we're going to do things. There is no greater post-conventional level thinking that's embedded in our conventional ways of living. And so how are we ever going to solve and help people heal? Because that's the most common thing right now. You Google it, you TikTok it, you YouTube it. How do you heal? And nobody knows how to heal. And like, where do they start?
See, so you bring up a lot of really good information in that good little bit, and I want to just touch base. There's two pains, and there's always going to be two pains. You either have the pain of discipline or you have the pain of regret. There's always going to be pain. It's how are you transmitting that pain? What are you utilizing that pain for? Are you utilizing it to, propel yourself and propel your business and, your physical well-being, or are you using it as a detriment? And part of living is evolving and us learning new things and becoming more and becoming better. And when we learn how to transmit that pain and that suffering into something that you can utilize that's going to better your life, that's how you can start to find out how to shift energy. Everything is energy. The pain that comes to you, you can now use in, a better advancement in your life, in your networking, in your business. Then you also touched base on therapy, which I have it's why I do what I do. I mentor individuals because a proper mentor or coach, these individuals are going to focus on your present and your future. The present as to what's going on now, not what's going on then, what's going on now, and where do you see yourself becoming? Whom is the individual that you want to attract versus attracting this individual that you were because you have a tangible evidence of who they are and what they were and these emotions tied with memory that now hit you in the present and the past. That's therapy. Therapy focuses now and then. Mentoring, proper mentoring, and coaching, proper coaching, focus on now and future. There wants to be, what's your plan now? Okay, what didn't work this week that we can do next week? And that's what's so powerful about, resonating with somebody, finding somebody that you can see yourself being a part of and becoming.
Right.
So that now we can focus on the now and the future. So that's the, therapy's over here, mentoring or coaching, it's over here. They're two different paradigms. But you bring up a really good point with that, because everyone does need that. Everyone needs to be able to see their perspective from an outside view. And if nobody is, we're not in this alone. This isn't a alone game. We've never been alone creatures. We're very social beings as human beings. And we like tribes. We've always been attracted to tribes. People have always, come together as one.
Collectiveness.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's the biggest root to all of this is they want to, separate us. They want us divided. So when it comes to the mental, health epidemic in my eyes right now, that, people aren't getting the love and the attention that they need because they're going to these sessions that the person on the other side of that chair wants you to fill that chair next week. Wow. They want you to come back.
Right.
Why? Because of this. And when they're so attached to all that, they don't really have your best interest. They just throw you in an echo chamber. And then, now the other person goes home, feels good for 48 hours, and now they need to go back on Friday.
Right.
So, that is huge going on right now. So how do we get away from that if we're not seeking that help? We need to reassess, do an inquiry on our life, have a self-audit, do this monthly so you can see where you're going, have tangible results. The one thing that I keep, it's been like my mantra the past 2 weeks. Are your actions replicating the vision you see yourself becoming?
Right.
So day to day, what are you doing in your systems now that are focused on your now and who you're becoming? Because goals are for here, systems are to build now. So you can make action today and to reach those goals.
Right.
It doesn't just happen that, it hit, they hit the end of the month, my goal is hit. You need to have systems today to reach those goals. Yeah. And the biggest, to bring this all back around, the biggest system that is now changing is in the, the work field, in the workforce. There isn't, we're almost in 2024. You're not going to be able to belittle people and not treat them like human and, work them to death and, just for a measly salary. You're not going to be able to do it forever. And it's changing now. People want that love and people are going to stand up and, get that attention. It's only in the States that you really don't have mental health days to take off. In Australia, all these other places, New Zealand, all these other places in the world, you have mental health days because they know how important it is. And actually, it optimizes their performance. Right. As leaders, we need to share with leaders that they need to give a shit about the other person. And then if you're in the space of data and macro and micro perspectives of things, at a macro scale, they're going to do a better job because they actually want to be there. They're not being belittled. They don't have to walk on eggshells, all this stuff. Right. And then, to the other side of the logistical spectrum, you're treating the person like human. You don't hold yourself up here. If anything, your employees should be above you, if anything. Right. Because you want to hear what they're doing.
I really think we're craving healing. That's the cry that I hear through all of these actions and behaviors that we're witnessing outside of whatever is going on in the world right now. It's pretty crazy. And all of that's really stemming from the fact that they're hurt and they don't know how to deal with it and they don't know how to heal and nobody's showing them how to heal. and they don't know who to ask for help whenever it comes to healing. Well, I got news for you. It's like there's still people, who have healed like us, right? Like, and we're working very hard to stay healed and remain healthy, right? Consistently, we got to put in work. It's like Kobe Bryant didn't go to the gym for 3 years and then took a break for 3 years. That's not how it happened. Michael Jordan couldn't even do that, right? LeBron James doesn't do that. Like, even though no matter how good and talented you are as a person, as an individual, you could be unique, gifted, blessed, all of that stuff, but you still got to put in the work, and you got to do it consistently. They're not going to the clubs the night before the main playoffs games and the championships games. What they're doing is actually staying disciplined and doing their rituals like they're supposed to in order to be successful the next day. And that's preparation, right? With the distractions that we're faced with consistently in our society today, whether it's through social media, whether it's through Netflix, Amazon, we're just consuming so much information where we're not allowed to create a ritual for ourselves, which is self-care. Right? Well, you can't have self-growth without self-awareness, and you can't have self-awareness without self-reflection. You can't have self-reflection without self-discipline. We're too busy learning what's going on outside in the world, outside of us. We're not figuring out what's going on inside here. Yeah, people don't have the proper tools or methodology in order to access those tools in a healthy way within the system that we've created in the mental health industry. And this really needs to change. No matter what, like, this needs to change in order for the betterment for our society, for the betterment for our future, and the betterment for our present and the remaining of the lives that we have on this planet. It's like we really need to put focus and energy on some of these things in order to heal emotionally. And like, because every time we would play, like in the gym, in the middle school gym, where there was basketball games or PE classes, there was a big banner hanging on the gym, and what it said is character counts, and it has these 6 things about what makes a character, right? Like integrity, responsibility, accountability, respect, attitude, all of those things. And that's what we're missing, man. It's the missing ingredient. Like, thank God that I never lost sight of that image, because it really is helping me do what I'm doing today. It's saving my butt every time that I think that things are hopeless, right? And then I go back to looking at it from character counts. Everything is an opportunity, right? Everything is an opportunity. It's not a loss. There's no win, lose, and draw. It's an opportunity. Every single situation is an opportunity. What do you think that we could do collectively or individually in order to promote better results for healing?
Collectively, man. Collectively, it all comes back, as you were stating earlier, and you said it in, very passionate terms, is that, we got to be selfish if we want to be selfless, and that comes with doing the work within. So as a whole, what we can do as a whole is people can start to do their work on themselves. This trendy word called shadow work, shadow work's being very, thrown out there right now, and I'm all for it. If people are going to learn what doing this means and what it's called, do whatever that is. And collectively, that's what we can do better, is we can do what's best for ourselves selfishly so that we can be selfless to the individuals that we're truly aligned with. Because we're supposed to evolve. That's what we're here for. We're not supposed to confine ourselves to the old. We want to evolve. And, with everything you said on that banner, it reminded me of when I was a coach. I used to coach lacrosse for 6 years. And when I coached, I always told my kids, it's cool to care. And what that means is, like, if someone's down and out, it's cool to care. Do what it tells you in the inside.
Right.
But so many people, especially at younger ages, is they're like, well, I don't want to get judged, for being me. And that's what people need to, get the comfortability in. We need to be comfortable in our own skin. And a lot of people aren't. And that's what a lot of this is stemming down to, that self-love and that self-work within, to have that ability to be completely you, because you're one of one. Everyone else is taken in the world, so be you. And when people aren't being themselves, it's causing all these different, different formats of, conceptualizing things, like these labels that we just throw at people, and they're like, I'll take that, anything to excuse this, instead of doing that work within, because they love who they are and they want to get better and they want to evolve. So, collectively, what can we do better? It's do the individual work so that we can all grow, evolve, and heal within.
Man, that's a beautiful message. I hope that, it inspires a lot of people, or some people, or a few people, or whoever is supposed to inspire in order to do their work. And once we do that, we're going to automatically, inherently, consequently, inevitably see the results within our society, within ourselves, and within our reality that we live in, that we created. From the mental health industry standpoint, I really do think they need to take a couple of steps back in order to figure out the real solution and not put a Band-Aid on situations and put people in boxes, because what you're doing is you're setting limitations. Right? And when it comes to faith, there is no limitations. When it comes to spirituality, it's pure freedom. And so I think the fact that they forgot to put the biggest ingredient, faith, hope, and spirituality within their processes whenever it comes to diagnosis or even evaluations, or the approach towards treatment for mental wellness and industry, it's biting them in the butt right now. It's kind of like, you forgot to put the salt, in the meal, and regardless if you did everything else perfect, you're
not the main one.
The main ingredient, you forgot it. So that's what's happened. Psychologists, psychiatrists, a lot of doctors, therapists, counselors, whatever, will tell you the same thing if they have an iota of spirituality. But even in the training and in the education, the curriculum that they've created, it really prevents them from having opinion. Then you don't have an investment in what you do. If you don't have a true connection with your work, then how are you really going to understand your work and make it better? If you're going to follow a script, ChatGPT can follow a script down to the thorn and tell you exactly what the CDC tells you and the Mental Health Organization tells you, Psychology Today tells you. I was reading Psychology Today. You know what they said? There's 7 things that people never heal from. 7 freaking things that people never heal from. I was like, how are you spreading this message? One was a physical disability or like a major surgery or illness, right? And that's totally understandable. Like I could understand that. But everything else on that list was complete mind-boggling. Like heartbreaks, emotional trauma, PTSD, right? And so they label all of these events, and they say people never recover or heal from for most of their life, right? Bro. And that was scary as hell. Like, that's fucked up. In my book, like, that's not even true. First of all, it's not true. The second thing is that you're just telling people not to try.
Yep.
Like, that's the message that you're sending today, that you can't try. Like, and I can give you examples, thousands of examples of people who have overcome it. Look at Jesus Christ, look at Abraham Lincoln, look at Dharma, look at Ronak. Like there's so many different people who have done this successfully, and you're saying that it doesn't exist. And so that, like, dude, like, go look at, and this is some certified doctor trying to be promoted or whatever the case is. And this is my problem. Right? Like, they're trying to fill up their seats, in order to get as many clients, and they're okay at promoting the popular opinion. This is key. Usually the popular opinion is consistent with profitability.
Exactly.
Right? And like, it's not consistent with your well-being. It's not consistent with your growth. It's not consistent. It's not consistent with making you better. It's not investment in you, it's an extortion of you, right? And that's my issue with the entire industry and everybody in it, and the treatment that we're providing. And they're completely bogus, and I don't believe in any of these drugs, and I never will take any of these drugs. But what they're doing is completely wrong, and it's unethical, and there's no morality behind a lot of these big pharma companies that are backing a lot of these statisticians in order to manipulate the research and present some narratives. They're gonna be the popular opinion for the mainstream media, and that's the entire problem that we're dealing with right now.
Even to give evidence on that, you know, there hasn't been a time where you can look at this statistically. There's never been a time where so many people have had, you know, depression or anxiety or PTSD. There's never been a time ever in human existence that's been recorded that there has been this much of an epidemic. So you gotta look at it as a macro view, is that, you know, there's a lot with it, and what are you going to do? Are you going to go back to the one size fit all, here's a pill, take it, and all that stuff, or do you want to heal those wounds that are within and get through it? And, you know, the evidence that I wanted to give to you earlier is I've had 2 instances of my life where I've suffered PTSD, and doctors all claimed to me, you know, if you got post-traumatic stress disorder, and now, you know, you're going to have it for life. And I was like, well, you can't accept that. And one was an accident, one was an attack. And what I had to do was the inner work. I had to heal those wounds. I had to get through, because PTSD, it's a past traumatic stress-inducing disorder. So they're going to call that, because this happened in the past, now you have a disorder because you had a very stressful situation that you had to go through, versus allowing you to go through it, learn from it, and ascend higher than going back down.
But they don't want you to ascend. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to heal, because if you do, they lose you as a customer. They lose you as a customer the minute you do. And that's my entire issue with the mental health industry, is that they're not invested in your growth. They're not invested in you to succeed. That's really why we've created the platforms that we've created. That's what we're doing, right? It's not like, hey, you know what? And I'm doing this because nobody else has the courage or the guts to do it. Call me whatever you want. Judge me for whatever capacity. But I can guarantee you I'll get you results, and I'll make you feel better than you ever did, like a baby, like you were 6 years old again and nothing ever happened to you. That's the guarantee I come with. I will make sure that you feel better than ever before. Granted, you do the work that's required for you to do.
Put it in.
Yep. Yeah, then you got to put it. Whatever you put in, that's what you're going to get out, right? You said it, and that's the norm. Huh?
You can get even more too, and that's what a lot of people don't really understand.
Well, everything you give life, it gives you right back.
Yeah.
Like, and if you give life everything you have to give, then it gives you everything it has to give you back. Right? Like, if you give everything, all your energy to life and not to self, right? To life. Like, this is because this is what I need to do, not this is what I want to do. I want to do is for self. I need to do is for life. And if you do everything that you need to do, and dude, life does everything that it needs to do for you. And it's an amazing exchange between the universe, the laws of the universe, the cosmos, you know, whatever, Jesus, religion, Christ, Christianity, Hinduism, whatever. But it's that faith and the energies that really gives us that exchange, you know, in return, thinking that we're doing the right thing, we're following a righteous path. When we go on the road to I want, that's when manipulation, greed, everything else kicks in, man. That's the road to hell. Like, I want is a road to hell, and I need is a road to riches. And I'm not talking about material riches. I'm talking about abundance, true abundance, internally, externally, energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Yeah, everywhere you're going to see abundance. And when you have that abundance mindset, the growth mindset, the spiritual mindset, what really happens is that there is no such thing as a problem, you know, and the frequencies that you're vibing with are unmatchable and unimaginable. Like, I'm high on life today more than I've ever been high on any drug in my life. And like, I've been through every single thing that you could imagine.
Because you're outside of Earth.
Yeah, this
like
is
you're on Earth, but you're the bliss.
This is explosive. This is dynamite, dynamic, whatever you want to call it.
The phrase "ignorance is bliss" is diminishing to how blissful heaven is, because ignorance is the bliss. Ignorance is arrogance. You're arrogant that you don't want to learn or you don't know because of a situation. But the bliss, it comes from a place that you don't fear, you don't worry, you don't have this idea that it's not going to work out, or these types of low vibrating thoughts. You're able to shift it. And a lot of people when they hear this, the laws of the universe, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence, the law of rhythm, the law of gender, all these the 12 laws of the universe, people look at it like it's woo woo, because you can't tangibly see it. You have to see it, but you can't tangibly see it. But when I say to those, there's the law of gravity. You can physically see that, okay? And it's a part of everything that spins. So if you want to see this as that's not energy, so it can't, how can what I put out get back? How does that happen? Well, it's because we're energy. And if you want to love, you put out that love. You have an unconditional love. That's a part of the heaven that they don't talk about, the bliss. You unconditionally love everyone and everything for no reason. You don't have to have a reason other than it's a collectiveness. We're all one and we love that part, and that's the unconditional love. But so many people have hate because of insecurities that they don't want to go through yet, because they have a perceived idea of what it's going to feel like to go through. And it's just that perception. It's that mind shit. And the ball's really this big. We make it be this big. And when it's that big, it's harder to push. And you don't even want to go near it. But then when you just start to do it, then you start to realize it's actually this big. And the problem that we created really wasn't what we expected it to be. The anticipation. It's good to plan. It's good to have a preparation. But when you anticipate certain things and it paralyzes you, it can be very, very disrewarding. So how do we step past that? We need to recognize those things. We need to challenge those behaviors in that process and do. Easier said than done. Well, it's also easier done than said. Stop talking about it and do it. Don't create this self-awareness or self-image of what it's gonna be like. Just do it.
Right.
And that's where people start a business. Well, I can't start a business. You got to do this. Fear,
right? And so
any excuse to get away from it. So when you remove yourself from it, from that self thing, and allow yourself to go with it, what you feel though is right and moral, and you're actually living up to the code of being a human being and a spiritual essence and a human being. Those moral responsibilities we have, and how do you know them to be moral? Well, we all have that switch that says this is right and this is wrong. I shouldn't do this. I should do this.
Our conscious,
our conscious intuition. What that spiritual essence of things. But then we go for the more comfortable thing because of the thought. And when you're able to control your thoughts, your energy, and your emotion, when you're able to control these things and actually have a intention for what it is you're doing, things flourish. There's so many, and I say this from my perceived notion of what I go through in a day-to-day process. There's so many people that are manipulated by the biggest picture of everything, and nobody is, as it seems, taking that step back and doing that work within so that they can achieve all that they are. They think it's a waste of time.
This is not instant. This is definitely not instant. It takes time. It takes consistency. Just like gym, there's no quick way to get to look your best. Well, there's no quick way to feel your best either. Right. Here's my thing about the shadow work, and that's why people need coaches, like especially in this realm, right? And it's like the shadow work is only as good as what you put in. And if you're conditioned to put in all of the bad in the book, that's what you're going to get back to, right? And so I really am hesitant, because it took me a long time. Like this has been a 12-year journey for me. I had to go through and learn many lessons over again and be like, okay, I finally get it. But the thing is that shadow work is all about being true to yourself. right? It's all about being completely honest to you, nobody else, not the world, not anybody else that you need to convince. It's your soul and your conscience, and you need to erase everything that's happened bad in your life before, you know, this present moment, so you can enjoy the present moment.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. It's because it goes along the lines of that. At any point in your life, did you have to remove yourself from the idea of you're a individual of your family? I am the son of my parents. Like, at any point in your moment of your life, did you have to remove yourself from that image?
Yeah, so detachment comes with it, right? And you must detach in order to do what you need to do instead of what you want to do and the roles that you want to play in life. Say, I had to surrender, you know, and we must surrender to the universe and not nobody else. You know, this is not conformism where I'm going to surrender or submit to some pattern or some trend or some ideology. This is my true experience with self and the universe and the life in it, right? The true energy of life and my relationship with it, recognize it and surrender to it. And whenever I surrender to it and succumb to those ideas, I have no worldly attachments, right? And that means, like, yeah, I still have duties, dharma, right? I still have duties and obligations to my family, but my identification is not, it doesn't stem from that particular biological reason, because it goes beyond it. Because yeah, they have given me opportunity to be born in this body, but they didn't give me my soul, right? And that's the entire
concept in itself right there. That people have a hard time breaking from.
Well, I had to tell my mom, like, you know, consider that your son died, right? Like, you know, consider that your son died. Yeah. You know, I walked. I know I've walked away from every single one of my family members that despised me or never had anything good to see in me, right? And like, I don't need that toxicity in my life, and I don't need to figure out why you feel that way. What I want, and I don't need to hold space resentments in my heart for you so you can ruin my future and my present, right? Like, I need to just separate myself and keep as much distance and love you as from far as possible. Yeah, I'm still gonna do the right thing, right? My obligation is to the universe and not to no person. Yeah, there's certain things that I need to honor my obligations, and I am, like taking care of my mom, right? And you know, certain things like that. But at the end of the day, my true obligation is to my purpose, right? And to the reason why I was put on this planet. That's my first and foremost obligation, and everything else comes second. Yep. You know, my relationship with the universe, my relationship with my higher power, my relationship with my spirituality, my relationship with my soul, my relationship with my being, right? That's the first thing. And then if I have that all organized and in order, you know, then I'm able to contribute and add value to others that come along the way. And and it's a process, you know, it's a process. It took a long time for me to get here. I'm like, no lie, like this does not happen overnight, you know. And but the fact that it took me so long, I've mastered it. It's kind of like you go through the class for 12 years and you're like, you can know everything about that algebra class, right? And you're like, okay, I could help anybody pass any exam, right? That comes their way, because nobody helped me, right? Like, it was like I had help, but I'm glad that they didn't help me, because that's whenever I learned the most, right? Like, I had to reflect over and over again, and hey, what happened in this event? Because nothing made sense out of it. I could have been confused and I could have left it aside, but no, like, you got to go back, you got to pick up the pieces. In the battlefields, that's when there's more treasure than dead bodies, right? Like, I really do think that, like, because if you go back to the war zones, you know, what's the biggest profitable thing that any business could do is go pick up all of the weapons, you know, you got to go pick up all of the tools, you know, you got to go pick up all of the metal, and there's so much gold in there, right? You don't know who left their USBs or what information you're going to find or what tank you're going to take over or what guns and artillery and ammunition you're going to find. And that's the same thing. We're so afraid to go back to the battle zone that happened in our lives that we never go and like go revisit the site, do the work, right? And then analyze and understand and evaluate and process it in a healthy way where it helps us understand ourselves, and then bag it up, say, okay, this is the good part, the rest I need to throw away, and I need to bury these bodies. I need to do proper rituals for them, proper ceremonies for them. But this is the goal. This is the lesson that life was trying to teach me, right? And get that lesson, extract it from those events, and then move forward with it. And I have not seen therapy be as effective in doing those things as much as coaching or, working with mentors like me and you and things like that. Like, that's where it comes in, because there's still red tape around the mental health industry, right? Even with psychologists and psychiatrists that want to help and do the most for you, they still have their hands tied. There is red tape, millions of people are stuck doing the jobs they don't love and in the positions they don't want to be, and they're living where they don't want to be, and they're living the life that they don't want to live. Like, I don't know what else defines a cage and slave system than that, right?
Comfortability and fear.
But there is no comfort in being a slave. You're never comfortable. There's no comfortable when it comes to fear.
At a different perspective, though, because at I don't want to say higher, but at different frequencies of things, you see things differently. And when you were in the machine and when I was in the machine, it was fun. We were, had that comfortability aspect. We didn't do change then. It didn't take until we were willing to release ourselves from the fear and get comfortable in the uncomfortable that we could move past those certain things. I don't know about you, but I don't watch TV. I watch television, all that stuff. Most people, when they come
music
home
and television is the biggest brainwashing tools that they have right now, right?
Yep. Like, once people come home, why? Because it's comfortable. It's very comfortable for individuals to come home after they've just, now they deserve, a nice, relaxing, comfortable afternoon. So they turn on the television and they rot away for 6 hours, and then wake up and then dread the day because they're stuck in this loop. And how do you break free from that loop? It all cycles back to the individual. It all cycles back to the being, because you have fear, you have trauma, you don't want to go through the pain and the suffering, but it's a must.
The way I look at it, I play the long game, Dharma. It's like, I'd rather suffer these 3 years trying to get my life the way I need it to be, and I'm willing to put in those 3 years and do whatever it takes in order for me to do that. Or I spent 30 years living a life of misery and hell, and maybe 60, who knows, right? And depending on when you wake up and when your spiritual awakening is, and when you actually, because even if you go through the spiritual awakening in your dark night of the soul, it's not like you're gonna wake up and do everything that you need to, right? You're gonna wake up and you're gonna have a better understanding, but your life is still gonna be the same. And so that's gonna require for you to do the work in order for it to change. It couldn't be simpler. Would you trade in 3 years for 30 years? Absolutely. I will do it over and over again. I will do it 10 times, right? And I'll be 10 times better than everybody else out there, because they're still going to be doing the same thing. Like you said, it's the same pattern, it's the same matrix, it's the same system, it's just different names and bodies, right? Like 10 years later, I went to one club to acquire this business establishment as a prospective client. Whenever I went to that club, these people, the people in it, were the same people from 10 years ago, bro. It was the same people, like the same people that I used to hang out with 10 years ago. That's where they were, the same people. Right?
Same exact cycle.
Same exact thing. They were doing the same exact thing 10 years ago. And I'm like, holy crap, I've been around the world. I've experienced so many different things. I've looked at it from so many different perspectives. And they're doing the same thing, bro. What? Like,
when you see that, it's like a shell shock. I know,
dude,
man. I remember
shocking. It's shocking.
Very shocking.
Most of the attractive girls that are found in high school, they're doing the same thing that they were doing in high school, and they're mid-30s, right? Even with kids, no kids, they're doing the same thing. Yep. Nas talked about it in one of his songs called Second Childhood, right? Yeah. She's just going through her second childhood, 33, with the baby and blah, blah, blah. And he talked about it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like people are still doing the same thing. And it's like, how insane is that? Isn't that the definition of insanity? You do the same thing expecting a different result. Like, do you really want your life this is my question to all of the listeners and all the audience. It's like, do you really want your life to be the same exact way that it's been for the last 10 years? Or do you want to make it different for the next 10 years? And you get the opportunity to decide that right now. Right? Like, you get the opportunity and you get the empowerment and the tools, and we'll provide those, right? Like people like me and you, Dharma, Ronak, like what's the fear? We'll provide you the tools in order for you to do what you need to do to get to where you need to be. But it's going to be up to you. Do you look at your last 10 years? Do you want your life to be the exact same way? Because if you don't do anything different today, it's going to be the same next 10 years. And guess what, my friend? It's going to be worse. Like, I'm sorry, it only gets worse if you don't get better. Like, that's the bottom line. Time after time, year after year, month after month, relationship after relationship, body count after body count, car after car, house after house, divorce after divorce, marriage after marriage, whatever it is, kid after kid. It's not going to get better till you do.
And now, after all those things had happened, if those certain things had happened, now you have more obligation and more things that are taking your energy. So now you have to be very managed with your time and set aside those times to do those certain things that you need to do and stay disciplined.
Dude, that's a solid observation, Dharma. That's a solid observation, because that's so true. Like, most people get bogged down with more things as they grow, as they get stuck into the system. They're worn out, their energies are depleted, their hope, their faith, everything is depleting, so it's like it gets harder and harder the longer.
TikTok.
It definitely gets harder. Yeah, it's like you stay long in the quicksand, and you can't get out of it the longer you are, because you're just fighting it just to be on top of it,
that's
right?
That's a perfect point. When you're in quicksand, when you fight it, you go faster. When you're calm and peaceful, you don't move. If you worry and you fear and you stress out and you panic in the situation of quicksand, you go down faster. Right. Because you're causing reactions inside of what's going on that's pulling you down faster. If you don't move and you breathe and you stay calm, you're not moving the molecules, and there's no friction. There's nothing happening. There's no reactions happening.
Yeah, you have more time to think it through and figure out your options, and you get to figure out a possible solution. Yeah.
And that's all present actionary moment. But if you're so energetically thrown away and you're panicking, then you're just going to sink down. And that's what happens when people get older and they, now they have a mortgage and 2 car payments and 2 kids, and one's going off to college now. So now they're fearful and they're already in their 40s and they don't have a retirement set up yet, and blah, 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 blah. And it's all these, you're taking on this form of energy that you need to now care for. You need to nurture and put something into, some form of energy. If it's car, you put money. It's a form of energy. If it's kid, you put love, and hopefully you put love and nurturing and growth. And now if you want to do, your own growth, you have to set aside that time, and you have to now focus on that. But people feel like they're getting quicksand because they have so many things that they're shifting to, and they don't know how to prioritize the time. And for the individuals that aren't in that category, they think they have all the time in the world. Right. And they're preparing for this time all the way down there. It's what school. Just one more point here. It's what school puts into the minds of individuals. It's that you have enough time. Play the long-term game. Play the very long-term, because when you're 60, you want to retire. When you're 80, you want to retire. I'll tell you what, right now, how I feel with what I'm doing in my life right now, I never want to retire. There isn't a damn thing that I would want to retire from. I've had the stage of my life where, for amount of years, I was able to retire financially and get away from that whole thing because, I worked hard, stayed disciplined, blah, blah, blah. But then when it came down to detaching from the school and how they taught, save, put a retirement, because, when you're 80 and broken, you want to make sure that you can travel the world now. But if you're not in this situation where you've all these obligatory things, do it now. What do you have to lose? You know, you have more to gain than you do to lose.
Time is the most valuable asset that we have there. You know, most people think that they have enough time. We're heading into 2024, and you know, like 80% of the people who said they were gonna have a different life, maybe 90 even, are still in the same spot, bro. Right? And it's like, damn, like, you know, and I think I've moved backwards, but willfully, right? Through detachment, in order to, like, I had to take a few steps backwards in order to get 10 steps ahead. You know, sometimes you got to do that. But I moved a lot. I'm not in the same place. I'm not in the same situation. I'm not the same me, right? And that's growth. And I'm definitely not going to be doing what I despise. And I'm not spending my energy on those things. I'm spending my energy on the things I love more than ever before, like more than ever before. And for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for that, because no matter how challenging it is, I got to look at it from the things that it has given me, not what I had to give the thing, right? Like, it has given me so much. I know once they, you know, start their journey, a lot more people are going to experience what we're experiencing, what we've been lucky enough to experience, through the work that they're gonna do, you know, through the commitment that they're gonna make to themselves, not to anybody else. It's to themselves, bro. Like, the only promise you gotta keep is the one to you. That's it. That's my rule to life right now. You know, it's like the only promise you gotta keep is the one that you make to yourself, bro. That's it.
You get to see your garden for what it is, and you'll find the snakes, you'll find the rabbits, you'll find the fruits, you'll find the, you know, the flourishing plants. And, you know, when somebody doesn't love you and accept you and appreciate unconditionally for who you are, truthfully, you know, there is no space for those types of individuals.
No,
and be careful about where you expend that energy. And if you're comfortable with who you are, that's what you will attract. If you're not, that's what you'll attract. If you put on a mask and you try to be something you're not, you will attract that.
Somebody who's doing the same thing, right? Like,
so now you have to play an even bigger game that you didn't sign up for, but you did. So, you know, you can put the mask on and be something you're not, or you can put the, you know, take the mask off and play your cards up and fold and say, you know, love me for who I am, or, you know, goodbye, peace. Have a good one.
Yeah, I think this was a great topic and great discussion. So is there any final words that you want to add to?
My final message to anybody that's going through this process right now is just do it. And I say this a lot because there's a lot of power that comes from just doing things. And when I say that, it's a lot bigger than just take the action. Remove yourself from the perception of how hard it's going to be. If somebody's going to, you know, not feel that you did a good enough job, or, you know, whatever perception that you're living inside, you know, release that and do what's best for you. And those that truly love you, you'll find that they actually supported you the whole time. But your perception of everything and everything else that got, you know, manipulated. So, you know, be who you are. You know, be yourself and just do it. And if you need to seek additional support, there's strength in doing that. It's not, we don't need to be so arrogant as a society. You know, you're allowed to ask for help. It's very powerful in doing so. So that's all I got to all who have resonated with this conversation.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of courage to ask for help, you know, and it definitely takes strength to be vulnerable and assess what your needs are. And we're creating a space for those, you know, who could feel safe in order to do that here. You know, and we welcome you know, more people who would benefit from our discussions, you know, to continue doing this a little bit more. We just got to put our minds to the things that matter the most to us, not to what the world wants us to focus on.